The TCG Scoops Show is part of the Booster Pack Network. For more TCG-related content, visit theboosterpacknetwork.com. Hosting for this show is sponsored by Category 1 Games, the go-to shop for all of your classic TCG needs. Find your favorites or discover something new at category1games.com.
Hello and welcome to TCG Scoops. This is a show on the Booster Pack Network where we talk all things trading card game news. Now, my name is Ranz, and I will introduce my fellow colleagues in just a second. But basically, the premise of this show is I don't have enough time to keep up with the greatest news coming out of the three biggest card games, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon, each and every month. So what I've done is I've assembled a team from my local game store just to tell me about what's going on in the world of those games at the moment. So let's jump into it. First of all, I'm going to get everybody to introduce themselves. To my right, we have
Tyler.
And Tyler, what are you an expert in?
Pokemon
TCG. Excellent, fantastic. To Tyler's right, we've got
Parker, and I'm the Yu-Gi-Oh expert.
excellent. And then lastly, but certainly not leastly,
Nico, the Magic the Gathering expert.
excellent. So we've got three experts here, and they're going to tell me all about what's going on in the world of those games at the moment, so I can learn a little bit. All right, so to you, Tyler, let's start with you. What's going on in the world of Pokemon?
Well, we've got some exciting stuff happening in Pokemon right now. In the competitive side of things, this weekend is actually the Knoxville Regionals.
Okay.
So active tournament happening. I was watching before I showed up here, actually. Top 8's looking pretty good. Lugia, there's only 2 of it in top 8 last I saw, but I'm not sure how it's doing.
Okay. And if for previous listeners, that was like a dominating deck.
Lugia is tier 0 at the moment. It is looking to be tier 0 until rotation.
Okay,
That's how
cool.
it's looking.
And when's rotation due?
That is March 30th.
Oh, that's actually not too far away. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Everyone get
As an
ready.
example of how strong Lugia really is, I believe it was, I have it written down here actually, in Orlando. Of the top 16, 10 of them were Lugia. Top 8, 6 of it was Lugia. Melbourne was the regional previous to Knoxville. We had 4 Lugia in top 8, so it's still pretty dominant, but it's starting to see some less success. But, you know, all it takes is one good event, and it's back up in there, right?
A little corrosion. Well, I assume
Exactly.
Lugia is colorless, so it's playing a bunch of other stuff
exactly.
support. Yeah.
All those
Okay,
special
cool.
energies, I can do whatever I want with them. It's just an absolute menace.
Sweet.
But on the lighter side of things, we had Melbourne. Lost Box won that event, which was nice. Azul Garcia Grego. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I apologize. He took Lost Box to take it home there. Very, very good event.
Okay, so break that down. What's the Lost Box?
So Lost Box is a deck built around what's called the Lost Engine that was introduced with Lost Origins.
Okay.
So the Lost Zone is kind of like, for other card games, it's like the Exile. So this whole deck, basically, you draw cards through your deck, exiling certain ones in order to activate certain ability on cards. There's a Cramorant, which when you have 4 in the Lost Zone, you can attack for free. The big star of the show is Sableye. When there's 10 in there, you can put 12 damage counters wherever you like in your opponent's Pokemon.
Okay, all right. That sounds pretty nasty.
Yeah, so lots of spread, lots of just, it's slow. It's only single prize Pokemon for the most part, so you have a lot of time compared to most people's decks who are at least 2 prizers. One of my favorite variants to play, sure.
Oh, fantastic.
I imagine the Lost Zone's very hard to interact with as well.
Oh, there is, once it's in there in Magic.
Right.
Sorry, Pokemon, yeah.
Yeah. Unlike Exile, which can sort of circle back with certain cards and stuff like that.
Exactly. I know Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like a whole resource in itself half the time.
You can,
Yeah, the different dimension. Yeah. Everything with DD in it, man.
But yeah, well, speaking of Lost Box, in terms of post-rotation, since Pokemon's a very Japanese-oriented game, we get to see their meta ahead of time. They get stuff well before we do. Giratina was the main Pokemon on the pack for Lost Origins. It's kind of the star of the show when it comes to Lost Box. It's its own thing. Typically, Giratina Lost Box is considered its own thing, but in Japan, it is the deck to be playing. Apparently.
Oh, okay, so it has
30% meta share. It is the deck, best deck format. Is what most people are thinking.
Okay, so my question then is, what is the difference between the Japanese card pool at the moment that's making Lugia so strong and Lost Box being so significant in Japan?
So they already have. They've already rotated effectively, so rotation's going to hit Lugia very, very hard. The whole deck is focused around these really strong special energies and Pokemon that utilize them really well. But once rotation happens on the 30th, we're losing. Most of them are like base set or earlier sets. We're losing a fair bit of them. Lugia is still apparently seen playing in Japan, nowhere near as much. They're using what's called Single Strike. It's one of the battle style sets they did. They had Single Strike, Rapid Strike, and Fusion Strike. It's still seeing a bit of play with the Single Strike cards. But we're talking like from what I've seen, don't quote me on it. It's like it went from like most tournaments around 30% is what you'd see for Lugia to about like 3%. It's fell off hard.
Yeah, okay. All right. So sell off your Lugias if you can.
Sell them off while you can. Grab Giratinas while they're cheap.
Sounds good. All right. What else you got that going in the world of Pokemon?
Well, in terms of the Japanese meta as well, always good to keep an eye on. The new set, Scarlet and Violet base set's coming out on the 31st, day after rotation.
Okay, all right. So that's why they're rotating then, just to like purge everything and then... And what's going to stay legal though?
So everything on the Pokemon cards, you have these nice little letters on the bottom left that are convenient. It's E-regulation markings up, which I believe is battle styles onward.
Okay. That's actually smart. I didn't know they were doing that.
It's a more recent thing. It's,
okay, yeah.
Just to make it easier to keep track of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was an old card game back in the 90s and sort of lasted through to 2015. It was called Legend of the Five Rings, and they had like a little like icon that would do the exact same thing. So when they went through that, so it sounds like it's taking a lot of inspiration from that.
Most likely, I'm
sure.
Yeah. It just seems like a really nice, like, clean way to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. E and B cards are legal, whatever the next letter will be, or something
exactly.
like that.
Yeah. They go through the whole alphabet. I'm not sure what they're doing when they reach, Z, but I'm sure they'll figure something out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mew, still very, very relevant. This is a big deck that came out in Fusion Strike. I'm not sure exactly when that was, about a year ago or so, but it's kind of just been meta-dominant since then. It's always had some amount of presence. And as I said, Lugia's kind of falling off. In terms of other new things that are for the base set, Miraidon's really the only thing most people are looking at in terms of like high-level competitive play, but there's definitely some fun stuff.
Like Rhydon is an EX?
Miraidon EX, yeah. It's one of the legendaries from Scarlet and Violet. It's going to be one of the pack art Pokemon.
Okay, cool.
So every meta deck is a legendary, pretty much.
No, not necessarily, but at the moment, yes. Like, it's not always like that. Not always like that.
Yeah, well, if Rhydon comes through and stuff like that, but obviously that's where they put their,
they're putting the money. They're putting the money where it matters, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to get those legendaries in that gold frame and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
The fancy arts.
Magic does the same with legendaries, but for different reasons.
Yeah, very different reasons. Yeah, different kind of legends. Yeah. We'll definitely talk about that.
Legendary is like a whole like mechanic in Magic, right? It's like you can only have like one of them out at a time or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's pretty much it for like the meta at the moment. In terms of new product, there's quite a bit coming out.
Okay.
So as I said, rotation's happening on March 30th. We get Scarlet and Violet out the very next day. Of note for that is they're also sunsetting the Pokemon trading card game online. We don't have an official date for when the servers are shut down, but we do know for a fact they are not getting Scarlet and Violet in that. Crown Zenith was confirmed the last expansion to be in the online game. Everything else is live going forward.
Okay, now, I think we've talked about this before, but I can't remember. Do you remember if you can import your card library from online to live?
You can, yes.
Okay, maybe I should get on that.
That's good.
Yeah, there's going to be a bit of a, from my understanding, you have a fair bit of time to make that decision.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. I do need to get in on that.
And will the new one have all the old cards as well?
Not at the moment. That's kind of the point of contention for the people expanded. You can't play in it. Popular fan format Gym Leader Challenge is unplayable because I don't believe there's anything before Sun and Moon in live.
Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, so but like I played way back in like 2017, 2016 or whatever, and that was when that Guzzlord meme deck came out. Where it's like you just have energies in one Guzzlord or whatever it was. Yeah, and that's and that's in my my Pokemon Online account. So maybe, but if I can't transfer it across, what's the point, right?
Well, so from my understanding is the cards will be once they are included, the cards are tied to like your trainer account.
Okay, cool.
So once they introduce them to live, you will have them. It's just until they've been added, those formats are effectively dead online.
Absolutely. Well, and for people who've been listening before, and obviously people who are invested, how has live been starting to shake out? Last time we spoke, you said it was buggy as AF.
Honestly, the public opinion hasn't changed much. It's still rather buggy. It's better than it was when I first played it, but like given the amount of time there's been, I think it's been over a year since it entered the Canadian beta, and it's just not impressive.
Okay, cool.
Just every time they fix something else breaks. There's cards that just are for no reason at all. They ban them because they don't work. They break the game.
Right.
There's lots of issues. You'll be playing with someone and it looks like maybe they're taking their time thinking how to play, but actually they've disconnected and you have to wait out the whole 25 minutes just to realize you've lost because the game won't continue. It's a mess.
That's brutal. They didn't and is it full launch or is it still beta in territories?
It's still technically beta at the moment, but I do believe they're doing the full release soon.
Okay, cool.
I'm not sure if they're waiting for online to phase out before they go for the official official release, but it's the worldwide beta now.
For Pokemon Company, who I assume is in charge of it, and I don't know who's actually the programming company behind it, but you'd think that they would know a little thing about video games.
You would think it's in-house. It's an in-house studio too. The old one, they had Dire Wolf Studios, which I think is why they're sort of pushing this. They don't want to pay them anymore.
Yeah, of course, yeah. That's awesome.
Magic did do something sort of with Magic Online where they stopped being the main developer for it and they hired a new developer to run Magic Online now.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering.
But they're still running it.
It's
still running, yeah.
I'm wondering why they didn't do something like that.
I honestly, so I think the big difference is, so for the trading card game live, for Pokemon players, it's kind of just like something they give us. There's no monetization. There's no way to convert. Like I can't enter my credit card and buy anything on that. I have to go buy a physical product to obtain codes, which I can then redeem online.
That's a nice little change of pace for Magic. Yeah. And I'm not sure, does Master Duel have any sort of monetization or whatever?
Yeah, they do. You have to buy your own cards on the game. You can't bring any from real life onto the game.
See, that's so interesting for Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Was always made, obviously by Konami, and the rule set, if you go back through the history, the rule set for Yu-Gi-Oh! Was only solidified because Konami wanted to make video games for it, right? And that's why those first couple of games are very janky and bizarre. But they always had that number. I don't know if they still do, but they always had that 8-digit or 9-digit number, so you could input your own cards in those Konami games.
Yeah, I remember that.
Can you do that still nowadays, or no? That's done.
Not for any of the games that I've played.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
I remember doing that for Forbidden Memories, I think, for PlayStation 1 or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you put it in, but then it wouldn't play the game in the because Forbidden Memories was you could just play whatever you want, no tribute summoning or anything like that.
You could fusion with whatever you wanted.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, that's awesome.
The Pokemon's pretty unique in the aspect that there's no monetization whatsoever. Online was the exact same as well. It's always just been kind of something they've given to us as a little extra, to play the game. They always try to focus it more as an in-person kind of thing.
Yeah, and maybe that's because obviously the demographic is seen as more younger children-based sort of stuff.
That's fair.
Yeah, for sure. And it's all right, well, we don't want to manipulate our market, particularly because we're still bringing new kids into this game, and we want to just use it as a marketing tool to sell, in-store products.
Exactly. Like you buy a pack, you've never played the game before, you don't know who to play with, but this card says come play live, and suddenly you get to learn how to play the game, right?
Yeah.
Pretty good way to draw people in. It's how I started.
Absolutely.
I had very, very rarely played the game, didn't know how to play it online at all. I bought a card pack. I had a code for online, and I figured out about the client, and I started playing ever since then.
Well, I mean, to speak to my history, obviously, there was a Game Boy Color game for the Pokemon trading card game way back when.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that game, but at the same time, I mean, I had learned how to play in person, but that really solidified, understanding how the game worked. Yeah.
I played that game, too. It was really good.
Yeah.
Classic.
Well, what I want to know is, whenever you buy a pack, you get a card that has a code for a pack, right?
Right.
And you have to put it in, and it doesn't give you the same cards that you got from the pack.
No, it just gives you a digital pack.
So just
cards are
more
still
random
randomized.
cards.
Yeah.
So you could build a completely different deck online than you have in real life.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
Doing that. That's pretty cool.
Online has a trading system. People use the packs as a currency more so than actually popping themselves for the most part. I mean, obviously you have to pop to get the cards, but most people hold on to them and they trade them for what they want rather than trying to get the pulls.
Yeah.
Live is going to have, from my understanding, a more, I know I've played it, more like Master Duel crafting system where you have a resource, but instead of, I know Master Duel has multiple smaller resources you pull together. It's just one for the crafting at least.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so that's really interesting. I mean, at the same time, I used to play Pokemon online, and I remember there was a really interesting economy and market for different cards. As soon as a meta would shift or something like that, because you would, in my remembrance, you would be able to offer up certain cards for a specific card.
Right,
Yeah,
you can
and
do
you're
that with the packs as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So whatever the most recent set is sort of like the currency, if you will, right?
Yeah, it really sort of talking about how markets sort of shift.
It's the whole economy.
It's really cool. It was really cool.
Interesting in itself.
Absolutely. It's a shame to lose that, but at the same time, obviously they're moving towards more of a, more traditional digital trading card game
exactly.
model.
It's much easier for a newer player to get, I have these resources, it costs this much to make this card, and that's it. Instead of trying to figure out the inner workings of this economy of what this one card may be worth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we got that's the digital client. What else is going on in the new set coming out?
Well, in terms of physical product, we have Scarlet and Violet, which I went over briefly last time. We've gotten the official releases for Triple Beat, which is going to be the new Japanese set.
Okay.
It'll be part of our June set.
Okay.
But this is the set that focuses around the X's for the starter Pokemon. It'll have Meowscarada, Skeledirge. I'm always bad at naming the bird one, it starts with a Q. I don't remember how to say its name.
Quigley or something like that.
Yeah,
Quigley,
it's
something
a
like that,
weird
yeah.
name. But they'll have all of those. It seems like they're trying to set a standard for power, though. These are all 2 prize Pokemon that all have about the same life totals of like VMAXs, like big numbers. They have attacks that are relatively cheap, like 2 energy to use them, that hit for fairly large numbers. So they're trying to make them relevant, but until we see more of the meta developed, I'm not really sure if they're strong enough. I've tried them out myself.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Other than that, though, there's another Japanese subset coming out, similar like Crown Zenith or Pokemon Go, that's coming out called the 151.
So I know that number very well.
Yeah,
in Pokemon. So when you say like Crown Zenith or Go, it means that this is a product that's only coming out in specialized packs. It's not traditional booster boxes.
Right, exactly. From my understanding, you'll have to be buying like specialized products that will come with the packs, usually like pins and other things to incentivize you to want to buy it. The big thing to know about this though is you may have heard about this, but back in, I believe it was 2000, for Kadabra, there has not been a Pokemon card for Kadabra since 2002. Because, an illusionist named Uri Geller.
Yep.
He bends spoons, right? And he sued Pokemon for believing Kadabra was in his likeness, because in Japanese, it's called Yegeller.
Yeah.
It's basically a blatant ripoff of his name, right? He had a huge legal battle with them, and Kadabra hasn't appeared in the show in forever, hasn't had a card since 2002. In the games, they made some changes. He's still in the games, but I think they had to make some accommodations for him on that as well. Right. But in 2020, he officially gave them back the rights to use Kadabra in the card games and the show. But they haven't done anything with it since. So this will be our first time seeing Kadabra in a long time if the 151 does indeed have all 151 of the original Pokemon.
That's fantastic. I'm excited for that set. That actually sounds really cool.
Too.
Obviously nostalgia and stuff. Did you have something to say, Nico?
No.
Is that like the only instance of that happening? Someone suing us? Because I know they take names from a lot of people for different Pokemon.
I think this is the first time where someone actually noticed it. Like he apparently didn't know about it either until he saw a Japanese card and someone told him what the name was. And another funny thing, apparently, but the big part that really upset him was so in the Japanese earlier sets, he had Dark Pokemon, like Team Rocket Pokemon. In Japanese, that directly translates as evil. So he had evil Yegeller, which is like but evil, right? So he apparently did not take kindly to that.
I did realize that he did that way back when, and it's obviously a very famous thing in the Pokemon community generally, not just in the trading card game. But something that's really interesting, if you go back and look at all the Abras and Alakazams between that time, there is always some sort of janky mechanic that allows you to evolve an Abra into an Alakazam for that exact reason.
Exactly, or they come out as like big base, but Alakazam EX kind of thing, right? Just completely avoiding Kadabra as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think even I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think if I stretch my memory, there's an Abra that's like, its attack is like, search a deck for an Alakazam and put it on this one.
I think so,
yeah. Just to shadow over that like IP branding thing.
Exactly. Dude, their absolute best is smooth and over.
Yeah, absolutely. We get down a rabbit hole right at the end.
Exactly. All day on that.
Yeah.
But other than that, the only other thing really of note is that on May 5th, we have a new League Battle deck that's a product that's intended for people who play the game. They have like different levels of product, they call them. Level 1 is like theme decks for people who don't really play. Just
Battle Academy stuff,
Exact Battle Academy.
Yeah.
And then they have level 2 and 3, which I believe this will be a level 3 product, which is intended to be mostly competitive out of the box. You buy 2 of them, you put the best parts of each together, and generally you have a fairly playable deck.
Is this the first time this kind of product has come out? Or is this
no, we've been gotten a couple of them previously. They've started trending more on the lines of actually being competitively viable, though. We've gotten some in the past where like they were playable, but by the time we got them, the cards had kind of fallen out of the meta, or they just couldn't keep up with the new stuff. But then we had the Mew VMAX League Battle deck. Fantastic product. This is for Palkia V-Star. Not as prevalent in the meta at the moment, but still very, very playable.
Okay, very, very cool. All right, and that's everything for Pokemon?
That's everything for Pokemon, really.
All right. It's obviously, I think we're all going to be looking for that calendar date of the 31st of March, right? Like, I think that's where the excitement is going to be.
Exactly.
Like,
that's what everyone's
like whenever you have that threshold step over to a whole new generation in the trading card game, you've got an entire new world to explore. All right, so that's Pokemon. We're going to go to Yu-Gi-Oh! Next with Parker. Parker's going to tell us about what's going on in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! I think there's been some pretty turbulent news there.
Yeah, we actually got some pretty big news. We got a new ban list this month.
Okay.
and I've been talking for the last 2 months about tier elements.
Yeah.
It's just tier elements.
Tier 0 is no longer.
Yeah, and they hit it pretty hard. They hit 4 tier elements cards. One of the fusion cards got banned, and 3 of their main deck monsters got limited to 1.
Okay.
So and that's not even the last of the hits, because they hit a bunch of other cards too. Mm-hmm. There's the new Ashizu engine that came out just like a few months ago that Tier Elements was able to abuse really well. All of those cards got limited, all 4 of them, so they're all at 1. And another card that they were playing is Sprite Elf, which is kind of like more of a generic card that can just work with any level 2s or link 2s or something like that. And that card got banned as well. So they took 9 hits on the ban list.
They really went for like the salty earth tactics on that one.
They didn't want anybody playing
Scorched Earth on that one,
and immediately after the ban list got announced, people were going on and trying to test out to see if you could still play the deck. And they said they had some success, but I don't think it'll be like, it's not going to be tier 0 anymore. It's probably just going to be like a side engine that people play now in other decks if it's like viable. But finally, we're out of the tier 0 meta. It's great, but
yeah, because that was 6 months? Longer than 6 months, a year or something, right?
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Good riddance, I don't even play the game, and I feel it for you.
I think Magic's ever had to ban 4 cards from one deck.
Yeah,
I don't think that's ever happened.
Affinity maybe, but that's about it. Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
not even sure they banned
4 Skull Clamp and a couple other ones. Yeah,
maybe
definitely.
3, but
yeah. That's it.
That's a lot.
It's definitely been defanged.
It
for sure.
speaks to how powerful the deck was. Yeah. We got some other hits too. Like there's Artifact Scythe got banned, which was kind of a year late because it was a really powerful card that people were using like last year. It finally got banned now. Nobody really understands why, because it's not really played in this meta. And then
the mystery bans. It's like, all right, okay, I wasn't playing it anyway, but
and then they have the Wind statue got banned as well, which is like a floodgate. It stops your opponent from special summoning monsters other than wind monsters. So any non-wind deck is just completely screwed over as soon as they play this. And it was played in Fluandereeze, which was like a kind of a counter to Tier Elements. And Kashtira, the new deck that just it kind of got its full support in the last main set. They were able to summon it as well with certain combos if you wanted. So it's really good that that's banned, because Kashtira is pretty much the top deck right now, or one of the most represented. I'm not sure if it's the most powerful, but it's definitely very highly represented right now. Another card that got unlimited kind of is Ancient Fairy Dragon, which was a super powerful card back in the day, but it's getting an errata. So now they're unlimiting it now with an errata. But with the errata, they're also unlimiting another card that helps you summon Ancient Fairy Dragon in Destrudo. So they really want to push people to getting this new card. But it's not out until March 10th, I think, which is our next product. Or March 9th, for Maze of Memories. That's pretty much it for the ban list, but it was a big ban list, and a lot of people appreciated it, not having to play Tier Elements anymore.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it'd be like a massive shift in just like the meta and everything.
Yeah,
right?
And you even have people crying because they love the Tier Element meta so much. It's like
we don't call those people.
Those demons.
Exactly.
Yeah, so in this new meta, there hasn't been a whole lot of tournaments or results to go by, but what seems to be the most popular decks right now is Kashtira, Branded Despia, and Labyrinth, and they're all pretty powerful. They all do very different things. Kashtira, I talked about it a little bit last week, and with their new support...
Last month,
yeah.
Yep.
With their new support, they are very powerful, but they're also not fun to play against. They can lock all of your zones, so you can't put anything on the field.
No.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, so that's what they do.
Just tell you not to play the game.
Yeah, so now we went from you can only play one deck and it'll just destroy you if you're not playing it, to you can't play if you're going second.
And I feel like that's a problem that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has had a number of times.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like this complete lock attrition thing where it's just like, all right, I won the coin toss, I get to win.
Yeah, we're immediately waiting for the next ban list now.
Yep.
Ban list waiting room.
Yeah,
Ban list
exactly.
waiting room always here.
Yeah.
Leaving.
Hopefully it's not 6 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, they take a while for their ban lists in this game. It's wild.
That's wild.
We're gonna sell those packs first.
That's
Really,
very
though.
true. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
honestly what they're going for.
yeah.
Some other news that we got is a new Trap Tricks structure deck that came
Mm-hmm.
out. It's actually really powerful. It's really exciting. It's good for new players to get into because you slam 3 decks together and you can have a viable deck that you can bring to locals and actually win with.
Mm-hmm.
One of the popular YouTubers that I watch, he posted his video of going to locals with this new deck. Just
Give him a shout out.
Pack TCG, Pack Official TCG, I think is his Twitter. He just slammed 3 structure decks together, and he went 5-0 at locals, beating Kashtira and Sprite, and I think he beat 4 Kashtira decks with it. And it's just 3 structure decks, so anybody can just do this and go, and you have a chance because at least somebody did it. Even if you're not like a skilled player, that you can beat it at least.
And that's a really low cost to entry for a competitive deck for sure.
Exactly.
Because what's that? That's like $15 a piece. So $45, and you've got yourself something that's beating what was previously considered the top tier deck.
Exactly, and you get a lot of good going second options too, and you can upgrade the deck too to make it more powerful. There's lots of good options with this. I'm really excited about the Trap Trick structure deck.
It's good in an eternal game like Yu-Gi-Oh as well, where some of these hand traps and all that I've looked into, and it's just it's crazy how expensive some of these cards can be, and you get 4 of them.
Yeah, and Ash Blossom was the most expensive card for the longest time because every single deck wanted to run it as a hand trap. And now it got reprinted for the third time in a structure deck in this Trap Trick structure deck. And a lot of people are really excited to have a cheap Ash Blossom to play.
Yeah, it's just a great product just to get staples with, really.
Yeah, exactly. And another card they got was Evenly Matched, which is a very good going second deck card, and it works well in the Trap Tricks deck as well. We got a lot more products to talk about. We're getting pretty much a new product every month for the next 4 months. It's pretty exciting.
Anything unique there that we haven't really seen before?
We're getting Maze of Memories next month. I'm not really sure. It kind of has some reprints, so it's a reprint set and have some new sets. They do this every now and then with they give you good reprints. And then I talked last month about the Legendary Collection, which is the 25th anniversary of the Legendary Collection, where we get the fancy new god cards and stuff like that.
Well, let's just speak to that Maze of Memories you said?
Yeah.
So the interesting thing there is obviously there's been a little criticism in, say, the Magic community where there's been just a product after product after product.
Yeah.
The interesting thing here is Yu-Gi-Oh! Sort of has that clip pace. It's there's a new thing every month, but it's not always, it's a lot of the time it's reprint stuff, right? Or it's upgraded or retrains or whatever, of an old sort of thing. So you don't really need to feel like you need to keep up with a meta that's coming out, a new product each month. And that's the complaint that's going on in the Magic community at the moment, right?
If Magic just put out reprint product and starter decks every month, oh man, that'd be great.
Way lower barrier to entry.
New set every 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
New flashy cards and just not too much else.
3 Planeswalker decks that you could actually take to a tournament.
Those good, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so not to derail, Parker. What else have we got coming up for products?
So we have there's a main set, Cyberstorm Access, coming out in May. That's our next main set. We just got Photon Hypernova, I believe, a little while ago. So that one's gonna have some good cards in it too. We have Wild Survivors, which I do want to talk about for a bit. It is not yet released in the OCG, so we don't know all of the cards yet, but we know...
And the OCG is the Japanese version of the game, the original card game.
Yeah, so it comes out in March in the OCG, and for us, we're getting it in June. So we don't know all the cards yet, but we know kind of the archetypes that we're getting. We're getting a new dinosaur support, which is pretty cool. I like the dinosaur deck a lot, so I'm excited for those. And another archetype we're getting is support for a very old card that people might remember. Hungry Burger. I think it was.
I've heard of that one. Yeah. I had that card as a kid.
Yeah,
I didn't play the game at all, but I love that.
Was that a ritual summon one?
It's a ritual.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Hamburger with teeth.
Yeah. That's right. That's goes back to set 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's old. I remember that from grade 3.
Yeah. I didn't immediately click, but that's awesome.
And it's pretty much a meme card because it just has really hard summoning conditions. It doesn't have any effects or anything. But people love it because it's a food card. It's a meat card.
That's not the love.
But they're making an archetype that works with the Hungry Burger that actually mentions Hungry Burger. So you're going to be able to play Hungry Burger in this new archetype, which is called Nouvelles. It's kind of a French cooking archetype.
Like, all right, I love Yu-Gi's theming sometimes.
Yeah, this is why I love Yu-Gi-Oh! We get these stupid archetypes.
Yeah,
that are
you
just
got
so
sushis
fun.
and battleships and all that
Give
sort
me
of
more
stuff.
food archetypes. I love it.
Things that are like part of the main decks in Yu-Gi-Oh feel like they should be like one-off secret layers in Magic.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like they're
for sure.
ridiculous,
Yeah, it's so fun. So I'm really looking forward to Wild Survivors. Has a lot of good cards that I'm looking for. Then we're getting a Battle of Legends set, and another thing that we're getting in September is the Pot collection. So people should know of Pot of Greed. It's one of the most famous cards. Like they mention it on the anime. They have to describe every single time what they do. It's like, oh, what's that card do? Oh, it lets me draw 2 cards. So they've made a bunch of different Pot cards since that one was banned because just drawing 2 cards is just too good for one card. That now they have like restrictions. So they made like a bunch of different Pot cards. And this Pot collection will basically I think it gives you one of each of the cards. And I think there's little pots in the form of all the pots.
Oh, that's cool.
Like little figurines?
Yeah. Like
Oh, that's
pots.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so pot of avarice?
Avarice is one, yeah.
Yeah.
Extravagance, desires, prosperity.
Yeah, all the deadly sins.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff.
Are they new arts at all, or new treatments, or?
Not that I know of yet, but we're still kind of far away from the release, so they could do something different like that.
Magic used to do a product that would be a bunch of themed reprints, all foil, kind of new art and stuff.
Is that, do you talk about from the vault? Yeah.
So it'd probably be similar to that, but with figurines, which is
really cool. Yeah, which actually sort of leans into the Pokemon territory, right? Like you guys are obviously stranger to like cool figurines in like specialty sets.
Yeah, exactly. Half the things become at the very least come with a little pin or something, right? Just a little box topper.
Yeah,
a little coin too.
A little coin, the coins, of course, dice sometimes as well.
Yeah,
all that stuff. Yeah.
But that's all that I have for like new product coming out for the near future. Yeah, that's pretty much it that I have for Yu-Gi-Oh stuff right now. Is there anything else you guys
It's good to
have
hear
any questions?
Good to hear something new about the meta.
It's like Tearlament making everyone hate the game.
Yeah, they're just mad at Kashtira now for locking all their zones.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's interesting to say that you guys have seemed to have a pretty good couple of months considering where we were talking about, like, you know, in the previous episodes. People can go back and watch, our February episode or even our pilot episode on the rare slot. Obviously, it seems like there's a really bright light coming into the Yu-Gi-Oh community. There was a lot of pessimism coming out of last year, and it feels like there's a lot of renewed freshness in that space right now.
We can actually build decks again, which is nice.
Yeah. And actually strategize, and sometimes you build those decks out of 3 structure decks.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to be doing that next week. I'm bringing the 3 structure decks to locals next week.
Nice.
Kick some ass.
Yeah, that's awesome. And this is a little bit of a deviation, but do you know, what's the current state of the Yu-Gi-Oh anime? Is that like is that on a series at the moment, or is that just something that the players just completely ignore?
I think they have like a manga going right now, but I don't think that there might be a series, but it's for like a different game. It's like Rush Duels or something.
Oh, right.
So it's not like playing the actual TCG or the OCG or whatever. I think they're playing like a different version of Yu-Gi-Oh, basically.
Yeah, because I hadn't heard of any new anime since that V-Trains or whatever it was called that came out, and I was like, all right, what's going on there? Because usually that dictates what the sets are, you know? And it sounds like there's a little bit of a sort of freewheeling kick if they're doing hamburger archetypes and stuff like that. That's probably not coming from the TV show, although I would like to see it. It definitely sounds like some good stuff happening in that community.
I think the designers go out to eat a lot together, and then they decide on archetypes based on what they get.
I want to see their Japanese beer garden archetype.
Yeah. Exactly.
I love the fact that the Yu-Gi-Oh show has them playing the cards.
Yeah.
If there's ever a Magic show, there's rumors about the Netflix show or whatever. I want to see the actual characters just playing with cards.
Yeah and like sweet. In the manga, like I haven't like read the manga or like kept up with it a lot, but from what I've seen is they actually play meta decks in the manga.
Oh, right.
Wow.
It's really cool. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's hard to keep up with. But to speak to what you were saying, Nico, are you guys familiar with the game Duel Masters or that franchise?
Yeah.
It was like it was a Wizards of the Coast product that was basically designed in America to be launched in Japan as like, you know, a Yu-Gi-Oh alike.
Right.
And it uses a lot of Magic rules, and the idea was it will funnel people, like younger kids, into Magic eventually. And in the original manga of that, they actually played Magic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they actually were
That's
playing
so
like
cool.
meta decks in Magic and stuff like
Oh.
that, and it was around that like Urza Saga era, so
Right.
there was a lot of craziness going on. Like Windfall was getting played and all those sorts of cards. So if you go back to like the first, like whatever it is, like 17 chapters of that, they're actually, you see them and you can see the card recreated in the manga.
That's awesome.
And then they pivoted because Wizards of the Coast was like, well, let's just make our own game, because Yu-Gi-Oh had hit, and they were like, well, let's just do that, and then for kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would love for the Magic show to just be like the Wanderers playing like Legacy, Death and Taxes versus Elishnorn, and like that'd be sweet.
Yeah, like a Battle City but Magic type thing. Yeah, exactly. Like some sort of high stakes tournament where there's evil stuff and
I like to think of just like this high stakes like standoff. People getting ready to like throw spells. Someone breaks a little table, some chairs.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Roll some dice.
Cards
Exactly. Keep going home.
There's a 20-minute filler episode about command attacks. But that would also be cool in the Pokemon world, and honestly, Pokemon does those like YouTube shorts. How cool would that be, just to see a YouTube short of like two people playing Pokemon, but not battling Pokemon, but playing as the TCG?
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, like a 10-minute short of just like to get just marketing or whatever. I think that'd
just
be cool.
spread awareness of the game a little more.
sure,
At least
for
in
sure.
North America, we don't get a whole lot of players, a lot of collectors. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
The in Pokemon universe having cards too, because that would be like us playing a card game based on like animals.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
And shout out to Life TCG, also out right now. Which is basically that. It's basically a TCG, but it's really only top trumps, really. But at the same time, to speak to that, Digimon did that exact thing. Like their fourth season was like, all the kids play Digimon, and then like the card game is a is what the kids play, and then all of a sudden the Digimon come to life in that series. Yeah. So it's interesting, and there's precedent for it there.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So that's everything from you, Parker, on that one?
That's pretty much what I have for Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah.
All right, sweet. Then that means we're going to swing to Magic, and there is a lot of news coming out of the Magic table right now. So Nico, take it over.
All right, so let's start off with a bit of a funny subject. So
I'm already laughing.
Magic the Gathering does a product called Secret Lair.
Mm-hmm.
Secret Lairs are things you can buy directly from Wizards of the Coast on their website. You get like 4 or 5 cards, all in one specific reprint style. Sometimes they're out of universe stuff, sometimes they're different art styles. And, the new batch has one that's based on snakes. It's, classic snake cards people like for their snake commander decks or whatever. One thing, the card Stonecoil Serpent has this new artwork where it's like all this, artifacts all shoved together and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One thing though is that there was a small little red man on a spike on here who had his penis out.
Ooh.
Not like in a sexual way, just like a small little naked guy.
Okay.
And I think most people thought it was really funny. A lot of people probably bought the Secret Lair because of that, because it's kind of a funny looking little piece of art.
It sort of pushes Magic into a different age group, though, at that point.
Yeah, it's so cartoony though, and it's so tiny. It's not like it's not sexual.
Yeah, it's like definitely not like the dominant.
Yeah, they're not trying to.
Just kind of there. I guess, right?
And people thought
That's
it
not
was
the
funny.
serpent.
No, that's not the snake. Yeah. No, but then they removed it. They said it was an error. They made a mistake, apparently. So it's not going to be in the Secret Lair. Okay. So I feel bad for anyone who ordered that Secret Lair, hoping to get some Stonecoil Serpent penis, and we no longer have that. Some people have some different theories on why they did it. There's some. It's all ridiculous, though. Anyway. Into actual Magic news, not snake penis. Phyrexia All-Will-Be-One released recently at the start of the month. After I was talking about that last month, obviously, with all the pre-release and everything. Kind of the effects that everyone was expecting it to have happened, except for one card, which I'm saving for our last section there, the crack play build. But Skrillav has seen a lot of play. The little Defector Might, good at protecting your creatures. Venerated Drop Priest has seen a lot of play as a new card in like infect type of strategies in all different formats. The fast lands have had a big effect on Pioneer Standard, kind of making their mana bases just better.
And just to break that down, what's a fast land for anybody? Like obviously Magic runs on lands, and that's the resource. So what's a fast land?
So fast lands are lands that tap for 2 mana, 1 mana of 2 colors. Mm-hmm. So like red or black, or black or blue, stuff like that. But they come into play tapped unless it's the first, second, or third land you've played. So for the first 3 turns, they enter untapped. So they let you power your fast stuff later. But when you draw them later in the game, if you're trying to play your 4-drop like on curve on turn 4, you're not going to be able to do it with a fast land, right? So Magic mana bases use a bunch of different types of lands to try to even it out. The fast lands, the ally colors, which are 5 of the 10 color combinations were in the new set. They're having a big effect on Standard and Pioneer, the new formats that they're legal in. Cards like Soulless Jailer seem to play too, good Graveyard Hate, and Elish Norn, the big card from the set. A lot of people are playing that in Commander, seen playing Standard as like a finisher, seen play different places. So, one's release is kind of what people expected. It has a good effect on the meta. No cards are really breaking anything right now, so that's good.
It's always a good sign.
Yeah, I don't think anything's getting banned, so that's real nice.
Well, I've also noticed that there's been a lot of positivity around that set as well.
Yeah,
a lot of
people
positivity.
like it.
And interestingly enough, it correlates with just timing in the year. And I don't know if this is a coincidence, but like last year at the same time, we had the Kamigawa set come out, which was also a revisited plane at the same time of year. Also got that same level of like excitement and hype. So I'm just interested to see if is this early year set a really good spot for Wizards to be releasing their sort of hot products, or is it just a coincidence?
I think it's just a coincidence, and I think it's for different reasons, because a lot of the reason why people liked Kamigawa so much was that it had so many great cards for newer formats like Pioneer and Standard. Great cards that aren't like annoying, you know what I mean? Right. Everyone likes the Channel Lands, everyone likes Fable of the Mirror Breaker. People like these cards. Sometimes they'll put out a new set with a bunch of really powerful cards and no one likes them. Right? Everyone hates playing against them. And hates that they have to play them.
Sounds like Kashtira.
Yeah, exactly. That type of thing, yeah. So anyway, that's kind of all for Phyrexia LB1. Pretty successful set. I think everyone likes it. And the art's amazing, too. People love the
penises on the art in this time.
No.
Not in the set itself.
I'm not sure how the Phyrexians really do things, so I don't think they clarified on any of that.
Yeah, squirting oil elsewhere.
Yeah. Anyway, in other big Magic news, the Pro Tour, the big promotional. It's actually the promotional tour for Magic the Gathering.
No, it's professional.
Yeah, professional.
Yeah, but it also is a promotion. But go on. We're derailing.
Yeah. The Pro Tour is back after not being around for a couple of years, mostly because of COVID, and also they had a bunch of other events. They tried to make it more complicated than it had to be. Pro Tour's back.
So Pro Tour is basically like almost an open event where you can go to regionals, you can qualify and stuff like that and get into it. And then what they did is they pivoted to sort of like this star-driven, I can't remember what it was called, like a hype name thing where you had to qualify through being like just that good of a player. And that dropped a lot of people off because there was no personal investment of being able to, I could be that person. I already need to be professional to be in this league. I can't remember what they called that.
Yeah, I forget too.
Yeah. Because it doesn't
no one
cares.
No one liked it. Yeah.
Nobody cares. Yeah. It's just I can't remember. I remember.
Format for this Pro Tour was Pioneer, which is newer format.
That's cool.
Yeah. Pioneer is basically, it's kind of 2014 onwards. It's in some ways it's kind of like what Modern was when Modern started. So it's a new format. From this era onward, you can have cards. Interesting format because creatures are really good. They started printing really good creatures since then. So it's a very creature-dominated format. You're not seeing as many like instant sorceries. They're obviously there, and there's very good ones, but it's very creature-based. Grand finals ended up being Reed Duke versus Benton Madsen. Reed Duke playing a Indomitable Creativity deck, which is a combo deck. Combo deck where you're trying to sacrifice permanents to flip through your deck to find creatures. There's 2 creatures you can find, and they let you attack for 35, and that's how you win.
Yeah,
that's it.
Just one hit wonders.
Yeah, the main problem with the deck is that you can't run creatures. You do get to run Fable of the Mirror Breaker, which is a saga that makes creatures and then turns into a creature. So that's kind of the only way that he's able to stay alive against Benton Madsen, who is playing a green-white aura deck. So auras are enchantments that go on creatures and bump their stats up.
Yeah, like an attach equipment. Equip card? Yeah, is that what it's called? And then I guess tools for you.
Yeah, an item tool.
Yeah, an item tool. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there are going to be items going forward. They're changing that in Pokemon.
So the idea of the deck is that you play a small creature with an ability like Hexproof, which means it can't be targeted by your opponents. You add as many things on it, make a huge creature, give it a bunch of abilities, give it a bunch of extra stats, and attack them. It was a pretty exciting grand finals, despite it being a 3-0 for Reed Duke. But it was very fun to watch. It wasn't like a crushing 3-0, you know what I mean? A close 3-0, if there's such thing, you know what I mean? Yeah.
There was some tension.
Yeah,
for sure.
Especially when Reed Duke was top decking like 3 Fable of the Mirror Breakers in a row to stay alive. that was quite fun.
That's cool.
As Benton Madsen was trying to find a Griff Spoon or something to give his thing flying so he could attack over. He just didn't get there. Ended up being a 3-0. Both players seem to be having a lot of fun too, which I always like in professional Magic. They're just chatting the whole time. They're both like very familiar with each other's decks too, and it was just good to see because Pioneer is in a very good spot. It's a very healthy format, very diverse. There's no decks that were taking over everything. I think there's like 2 creativity decks in the top 8, 2 Lotus Field combos, and just a bunch of other just a good format right now. Yeah.
It's always nice to see like a nice spread across the top.
Yeah,
there,
you
right?
can kind of play a lot of different things right now, which is nice in that
Well,
format.
to circle it back to everyone, obviously, Yu-Gi-Oh's starting to get a healthier meta off this ban list. Obviously, Magic's sort of in a good spot as far as Pioneer's concerned.
As far as
obviously,
we
can't
like
speak
80
to standard.
formats,
Right?
so we can't speak to standard because no one knows.
So what is standard? And then obviously Pokemon's starting to come into that era. We can all sort of see that sort of getting over the hill. So it's good to hear that these games are starting to get a little bit more fresher than they had been over the last 6 months in some cases, 4 months in others. And you've got a whole new generation to deal
exactly.
with.
Very exciting.
Very exciting indeed. Yep. So back to you, Nico.
Yeah, so other than that, we're also starting to get spoilers for March of the Machines, which is the big next standard release.
And it's special because it is what they've considered an event set akin to sort of War of the Spark or something like that.
Yeah, it's the big build-up that everything's been building up.
It's basically the Avengers movie of the sort of Magic universe.
So, to go a little bit into the story here, in Phyrexia All-Be-One, the villains, the Phyrexians, they won, basically, and now they get to go to every single plane. They have connected to every single plane, which means that they have started to complete, which is their version of transforming into their evil beings. A lot of the biggest heroes of other planes. They're not heroes, but just biggest, strongest characters there. So you see Omnath from Zendikar has now been completed. Every set Omnath has been getting a new color added. Every set Omnath's in. So he's like green, then he was green, red, blue, green, red, blue, white, and now he's green, red, blue, white with Phyrexian black mana. As his final form.
So he's 5 color but
He's
Phyrexian
5
black.
color but Phyrexian
Okay,
black.
cool.
Yeah.
That's gonna fuck with Commander.
Yeah. Not as good of a card as the old Omnath.
Yeah.
But
they were format dominating it at
well,
times.
the 4 color one is an amazing card.
That was the Zendikar Rising one?
Yeah. Stupid card in my opinion. Whatever.
Yeah. We do not have the time.
Exist. Heliod, also the god from Theros, has been completed, so they can complete gods. That's cool.
That really establishes the power level. I didn't realize quite how crazy that they're getting.
Yeah, so the other thing we're seeing, though, is kind of fun, especially for Commander players. Commander's obviously a more casual format. Yeah. Commander players care about big flashy things and cool artwork and stuff, right? And powerful cards, obviously. So what we're seeing is legendary creatures, right, who are characters from specific planes that the cards reference a specific character, right? So you could have a card that references some random soldier, and then you could have a card that represents this specific soldier. So they have their name on the card and they're legendary. You can only control one. What we're seeing is kind of characters that aren't necessarily villains or opposed to each other, but aren't always super connected, that have to team up against the Phyrexian threat because they're coming together. So we're seeing stuff like Thalia and the Gitrog monster from Innistrad teamed up as one card. And it's Thalia riding on the Gitrog monster.
Well, that's the team up set that came out for Pokemon, right? It was Snorlax and Eevee or what, or Snorlax and Togepi or whatever it was. I can't really remember what the. Yeah. But there was and there was legendary.
Oh, there was a lot. There was
Mewtwo,
Mew. There was Whalebone.
It's so interesting. I wonder, because that was about 2 years ago. I wonder, and that's how early Magic works ahead. I wonder if they saw that and went, maybe we can do this.
Yeah, they might have, or they might have just realized that fans will go
nuts for it. But again, where's the influence there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. One of my favorites actually is a Yargle plus Multani.
Yargle.
Yargle, if anyone doesn't know, it's a 5 mana card that you can pay on turn 5.
Common.
It's a uncommon.
Uncommon, sorry. Yes, sorry.
It's a 9/3 with no abilities.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny for a legendary creature. Usually they have a big flashy ability and they're kind of an engine for a deck. This guy's just a big frog.
Yeah.
And Yargle plus Multani is a 6 mana 18/6. It has no evasion, so you can throw any little creature in front of it to block it and you don't take any damage. It's just a fun
It's just
card.
a juggernaut with a big number.
Yeah, it might see some play if they can give it flying or something. It's definitely a fun commander card if you want to build around it, giving it flying, letting it attack. In commander, you have something called commander damage. So if your commander deals 21 damage to the other player, they're dead.
Yeah.
So
just
you can
2 hits.
buff it up a little bit.
40 health.
Find a way to give it
flying.
trample or something.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, my mind first goes to there's a lot of cards that reveal the top card of your deck or choose a card and do damage equal to its power or something like
There's
that.
definitely
So there's a
some
lot of
effects like
there's
that.
a lot of
That could be
sneaky
fun.
stuff you
yeah.
could do just because of that high number. Because I don't think we've ever seen something that high before.
No, we have, but not cards that are like castable. Because we've seen the Eldrazi, obviously, they go up to like 15 and stuff.
Yeah.
And Merit Lage is a token that a land
It's
can make.
2020,
That's a
yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I think that might be I think that is the biggest stat. But yeah, 18-6 is pretty ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
the biggest creature with no abilities we've ever seen.
Yeah,
for sure.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it seems like a fun card. A lot of other things they're doing here. So since they're going to every plane, they've shown off a lot of art, right?
Yeah.
They kind of do this before sets. They'll show off a bunch of art for cards and let people kind of guess what the cards are going to be about based on the art. So we're seeing a lot of things, and they have the name of the card too. So we're seeing Invasion of Tarkir, Invasion of Mercadia, Invasion of Lorwyn, Invasion of all these different planes. We're seeing the Phyrexians go to these planes.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to see a lot of fan favorite planes that maybe aren't big enough to have their own set, but specific players want to see them. So it's kind of cool that they get to see them, even though they're being invaded.
Yeah.
That's no shout out
Yeah.
before
And they might be
turn
changed
around.
forever.
They might
Yeah.
be changed forever, So that's cool. We're also seeing a cycle of common lands. They're just lands that enter tapped and you gain a life. They're in a bunch of sets, but they all take place on different planes. So that's kind of cool too. It's the first set we've seen that really goes all over the multiverse, right? The first like standard set that we're seeing that type of thing. There's also reprints in this set. Sometimes Magic sets will have sort of a separate card list that is like reprints as well in a new
set list.
It's in a new style, right? So we're seeing like Mystical Archives, you had the artifacts in Warriors War. This time what we're seeing is specific sets have their own special borders that they do for specific cards. What we're seeing here is reprints of great cards from all those sets redone in their special border. So we're seeing like Ragavan, who is printed in Modern Horizons, but is from Kaladesh in like a Kaladesh style border. We're seeing the new legendary creatures in the style of the set they're from. So these all different styles are all going to be in this one set. We're even seeing cards in styles from sets that are coming out in the future. So we're seeing the new Ixalan, Booster Fun style border, even though that set doesn't come out for like 6 months or more than that.
Yeah, it's the last set of the year, so it's going
Last
to
set
be
of the year, yeah.
So even longer. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're getting reprints like Ragavan, Atraxa, all sorts of good stuff so far. It looks like that's the only two we've seen, but I imagine there's going to be.
Well, that's nice. It's like a little celebration of the game as a whole, right?
Exactly,
Showing
yeah.
off the different planes and their different arts, but at the same time, a lot of change, obviously. Right?
Yeah. So yeah, it seems like an interesting set. My main worry with the set is that it kind of seems like there's no going back. It kind of seems like they've won. So, and I'm worried that Teferi's going to come and time magic it all back.
Yeah. Deus Ex Machina type.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to happen. We'll see though. Maybe the Magic universe really will be forever changed by this set. But yeah, that's tough to say. Anyway, other than that, we're also getting a new Master set. Master sets are reprint sets. They are all reprints.
Okay.
And this one is Commander Masters.
Yeah, like evolutions or any
Oh,
number
okay,
of
yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh sets that are coming out
Name
every
a
other
random
month.
thing in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
So they've done like Modern Masters, which is reprints of the best cards in Modern. Eternal
Which
Masters.
they're all format based.
They're all
yeah.
Not anymore. Now they do like Double Masters, Iconic
Oh yeah,
Masters.
I guess so. Yeah.
Whatever
But
they feel
usually
like.
that's the Commander focus
The new,
thing.
the new one is Commander Master, so it's specifically cards reprinted for Commander. They've only shown off 3 cards so far because this announcement was very recent. Those cards are one of them is the Dragon, who is a big, powerful, scary dragon commander. A lot of people like that one. Jeweled Lotus, which is Black Lotus, but you can only use it for your commander. Another super expensive card that goes in a lot of decks. And also, notably, Capture of Jing Zhao, which is a card from Portal, which was a set they made to target the Asian market in Magic.
Yeah, Portal 3 Kingdoms.
Portal 3 Kingdoms,
Yep.
yeah. So it's specifically very much based in Chinese lore, I believe. So it's an interesting reprint that doesn't really fit into Magic's current aesthetic with the artwork and everything, but it is cool to see it. It's kind of just a generic take an extra turn spell, but it is at $200 right now.
Generic,
Big
take
balls.
another turn spell.
Yep.
Generic, take another turn
Yeah,
spell.
hold on one second.
Let me
Yu-Gi-Oh!
process this
Yu-Gi-Oh! and
really
Pokemon
for a
are going
second.
wait, you can take another turn? That's something you can do? Time Warp?
Okay, how much does this cost?
5 mana.
5 mana still.
That's
Yeah.
5 turns. Your 5th turn, you can become your 6th turn immediately.
Well, it's not that unheard of in Pokemon. We have a
Yeah.
dialogue like GX, and we had the new.
The time.
The V-Star one.
Yep.
With the once per game kind of thing, you pop it and you get an extra turn.
That's really interesting. Have you ever seen something like that?
I've never seen that in Yu-Gi-Oh! No.
Yeah.
I've seen it in
I don't
other
think I've
card
seen it.
games, but it sounds ridiculous for Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
Well, Magic has a resource system, right? So you got to
Yeah.
spend 5 mana
gotta-
to
yeah.
make
Yeah, I don't think it wouldn't work in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because if you go first
Yeah.
and then take another turn, You can just go to battle. And,
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have a resource cost, so if there was a
Yeah.
card like that, you would basically be doing it, unless you was
Yeah,
like
exactly.
sacrifice 5 monsters or something like that, and
they would have to put a really heavy restriction.
Yeah,
on that.
you'd have to limit it for sure. But that's interesting. I'm glad that we had a little aside.
I didn't really think about that. They don't
Yeah. For you, it's like, of course, you know.
That's like a deck
blue.
defining thing.
Yeah.
It's like one new one a year, and they're always mythic and not very good. And now these days,
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, let's speak to the price that you mentioned there. It's a $200 card, but
Yeah.
obviously, you mentioned that it was a set that was specifically targeting the Asian market when it came out. And the problem there is that it was short printed because, in English at least, it was short printed because it was not seen to be something that American audiences would have wanted. Because we're talking about like 1998, 1999. And I think one of the things that is interesting is that's sort of akin to what we saw with, I'm not sure what set it was, but one of the double master sets, I think, was Imperial Seal. Which had only had sort of like promo reprints and stuff before, but that was the first time it sort of was in packs, and that's from that set, and that's
same set.
Yep.
Same with Imperial Recruiter. That was very expensive for a long time, and now it's dropped in price quite a bit. A bunch of cards, 3 visits, just a bunch of weird ones that are kind of just worse versions of other Magic cards.
And that's how Portal was designed, right? Like it was like basically like, let's take this card and make it Chinese themed, but now you can have 2 versions of it in your singleton deck, or you can have 8 versions of it in a non-singleton deck legacy.
Makes sense. You don't want to be too strong then.
It is interesting though because the set doesn't have instants. It's missing a couple card types, which is really weird. Anyway, so it's like Vampire Tutor is an instant, but Imperial Seal is a sorcery. Which means you can play it on your turn instead of your opponent's turn.
Well, because and that speaks to Portal, because Portal was trying to be a less like complicated. So it's just basically it took out all those superfluous types like enchantments. I don't think were in Portal. I think it was just creatures, it was sorceries and lands. That's all it was. So and that speaks to why that was.
Magic right there.
That's your bread and butter right there.
I don't know about any of this. I only play Portal 3 games. I just scrolled through Reddit and kind of threw this together. So that's all we kind of know about Commander Masters, other than it's going to be expensive. I forget what the real price tag was, but
I saw $400 US for a set box, which is crazy.
I mean, we'll see if that's actually what they sell for. Probably though. They also have 4 Commander decks coming out for that set.
Oh, good.
So that makes sense, obviously.
Yeah, the Eldrazi one looks exciting.
Yeah, and we'll probably see some downshifts as well, which will be big for the Pauper format. Pauper is a format that's only common cards.
So let's talk about what downshift means, just for everybody. Like just
a downshift in rarity, right?
So it means a card that originally came out as say a secret rare, or you know, like a holo, like a color, whatever, and then now it's all of a sudden just a regular rare. Is that something you guys see in your games? Like
I believe Yu-Gi-Oh has a Pauper
Yu-Gi-Oh
format as well.
Okay, but the downshifting specifically.
Yeah, so actually in the Trap Trick Structure deck, one of the extra deck monsters that they print it in common for that, but its original printing was a secret rare.
Yeah, I definitely think that, I definitely, obviously, like, the Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, Blue Eyes White Dragon was the chase card, but you can get it in any Kyber structure deck, right?
It's like the most commonly printed card.
Yeah, absolutely. What in Pokemon, have you ever seen like a specific example of downshifting?
Not recently, at least. I'm not going to say it hasn't happened, but in Pokemon, most of your deck is made up of commons and uncommons, anyways, in the form of like items and trainers, right?
It wouldn't unless you're blending it out with like gold ultra balls.
Exactly, right? It wouldn't be that big of a shock if they had done that at some point, right?
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Back to you again.
So it is interesting, though, that, every other format, they don't really care about master sets affecting the meta. They just affect price tags, right? They lower things.
But Wizards of the Coast doesn't look at the secondary market.
I know.
Sorry. They don't engage with the secondary market. That's impossible.
No, but Pauper players do have to care about these sets for the metagame because they could downshift stuff. And now specifically that Wizards of the Coast is caring a bit more about Pauper, they could specifically downshift things for the format to kind of change it in ways other than banning cards. So we'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than that, that's kind of all I have, except for one small thing. This was just recent. Someone found a huge pallet of Modern Horizons 2 in a dump.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like a literal, like a waste refuse place.
Yep, sealed product of Modern Horizons 2. Those boxes are like $300 each.
Jeez.
Yeah. Someone just found it in a dump and posted it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I saw this actually.
Yeah.
on Twitter
I
or
didn't see
something.
this. This is crazy.
They found
Really?
like 6
Yeah.
pallets or something, right?
6 pallets.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple different theories about where it's come from, but
Yeah.
no one's really sure.
Yeah.
The old Atari ET treatment.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
an amazing set, though. It's great. I
Yeah.
opened 2 packs of it recently and pulled like probably $50 worth of cards.
Yeah,
So.
they estimated it was like $200,000.
Yeah,
Well,
something
yeah.
like that.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like they're just sitting there on the
Yeah.
in amongst all the diapers and the everything else.
It makes you wonder how many other times stuff like that's happened.
Yeah, really.
Oh, I'm
Well,
sure.
I wonder how much beta's been thrown out.
Yeah, well, I mean
Yeah.
that's a different story. But I mean,
Yeah.
like we had last year, we had what was the set? It was Brothers War. Well, no, the previous one to Brothers War. The
Dominaria United.
was that the one that had the Legends
Legends
cards?
cards,
Yeah. And they just found a
found
pallet,
a
and
pallet.
that's just found a pallet of
Yeah.
stock and like cracked them and opened them
Yeah.
that had been sitting there since '94. So
Yeah.
almost 30 years.
Mhm.
Like it's insane what is out there.
Yeah, yeah. And who knows if they actually found it? They may have been hiding it for something, you know?
Yeah. There's I think they did explain it was like, oh, there was a warehouse and it shut down, but nobody ever
Yeah.
cleared it out, and
Yeah.
it's just been sitting there, and we found it, and we knew this was going to happen, but who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. So yeah, that's all I have for Magic this month.
Okay.
Pretty busy month for Magic. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to put 3 things on you.
Sure.
The first one is there's a new card type coming, Battle.
Yes, Battle. Yeah.
Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about Battle last time with the new Atraxa mentioning Battle. We haven't seen any Battle spoiled. We don't know what they do. People are expecting that the invasion cards, the like invasion of so-and-so, are going to be Battle cards.
Mhm.
People still don't really know what they're going to do, though, so there's a lot of excitement about that.
But mechanically speaking, I've heard that they are going to be double face cards. So it feels like
Yes.
there's going to be a goal on one side and then a reward on the other.
That's the main
Okay.
theory, but we don't really know
Yeah.
yet. We just know they're double faced,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is very common for Magic now. Every set pretty much has double faced cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and moving into the realm of March of the Machines, which you know
Yes.
we talked about the Phyrexians going to every plane.
Mhm.
I've heard there's a theory about going from a focus on planeswalkers, which is
Yeah.
Magic has been focused on since Lorwyn, so that's
Yeah.
2008 or whatever, so that's
Yeah.
15 years plus.
Mhm.
Now focusing specifically on legendary, so
Yeah.
not downgrading, but like reconfiguring their focus as far as like our chase cards are our planeswalkers, moving
Yeah.
to our legendaries. How do you feel about that?
We'll see what happens, and I think it's just going to be a balance of both. I don't think Planeswalkers are going away. They're a very popular card type. People love Planeswalkers. Phyrexian LV1 had 10 of them, which is more than the average. It had 5 at Mythic and 5 at Rare, two the rare rarities, basically. I don't think they're going to go away. I think we'll kind of see a focus on both. Super powerful legendary creatures, super powerful planeswalkers. I think they're both just going to continue to exist. There might be more of a focus on legendary creatures, but I think we've already seen the more of a focus on legendary creatures over the past few sets.
Absolutely.
You were mentioning that,
Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing to pull out there is narratively, Magic, obviously, you spoke to the narrative before of the Phyrexians being able to connect all these worlds. Narratively, one thing that has restricted Magic is you can't print a legendary creature that is from, you can't print a Yurgle who was from Innistrad? Am I saying that right?
Dominaria.
Dominaria, sorry. Who is on Dominaria in a set that's Ixalan.
Yeah.
But this connection might mean that gives them carte blanche to do anything narratively.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see what happens with that. There is a second set that's coming out after March of the Machines called March of the Machines Aftermath, which some people are theorizing that it might have something to do with planes crossing over briefly, maybe like side stories that happened while everything was connected. So I assume we'll see some stuff like that in there. Or even some characters that get like lost in another plane after all the planes close up, supposedly, which they might do. We don't know yet. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I personally would be kind of upset because I think that's kind of what gives Magic its identity, is the fact that it's all different planes. So we'll see what happens. I think there is good reason for them to want to do something like that, obviously, because a lot of legendary creatures are very popular. But they make so many reprint sets every year that they can put those cards into other sets.
Yeah, they need to be there in specifically.
Exactly.
But I mean, narratively, I think that they want to incorporate characters that are very, very popular in other things. And
it would make sense, that all these popular characters, they can't really mesh together, but now they can just kind of do what they'd like with it, right?
yeah, well, you guys, as Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon players, you guys are dealing with a singular sort of universe that can basically. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
exactly.
we talk about hungry hamburgers before or whatever. You know, like
Sushi battleships.
sushi battleships or whatever. Like you guys have carte blanche to do anything. You obviously Pokemon is restricted to the Pokemon that the game has.
Yeah, but it's like a region, right? All those Pokemon from other regions still exist.
Yeah, exactly.
They're still out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. One of the lore archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh is called Visa Starfrost, where it's kind of like that, where this guy goes to different planets, finding different versions of himself. Because they live on these different planets, and that's where the Kashtira archetype and the Tearlament archetypes come from. They're part of the Visa Starfrost lore. So it kind of reminds me of that, but it's obviously different. The planes are like different universes, right?
Basically, yeah.
So, I guess.
Except all this lore in yours. Mine is just children battle each other with animals.
Call it Peter. Yeah. That's hilarious. Do we have anything else out of Magic there?
That's all I've got for Magic.
That's all you got for Magic? Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, then let's go to our final segment, which we do every episode, which is Crack, Play, and Build. Thank you so much. I don't have my sheet in front of me. I'm running live right now. Okay, so we're going to go Crack, Play, and Build, which means that we're going to go through 3 segments that each of these guys are very excited about their respective games, and they're going to talk about it. So the first one is Crack, which is obviously what are you most excited to open if you were opening a pack of your current set or any of your games? So to you, Nico, let's start with you. Come back the other way.
So yeah, one thing that I wasn't talking about when I was talking about Phyrexia All-Be-One was Atraxa Grand Unifier. This card, when it was teased, people were mostly interested in the fact that it said Battle on it, which is a new card type. We don't know what it is. I talked about that last month, obviously. It was kind of just spoiled. It was very fresh. But people kind of glossed over the card. And then they kind of realized, oh, this is an insane card. It's an insane reanimation target. Reanimator decks, they put a big creature in the graveyard, they bring it back from the dead as a big threat, and it has a bunch of great keyword abilities, and it lets you look at the top 20 cards of your deck, pick one for each card type out, and put them into your hand.
Oh my god!
People kind of talk about it like it's the second coming.
That's a huge effect.
I know.
I mean, regardless of what game you played, that's a huge effect.
How much does that cost?
It's like $80 now. I think.
I mean, like
it's
to
like
play,
60.
like for mana.
It takes like 7 mana, but you never cast it.
Okay.
You cheat it out.
Yeah.
You cheat it out
Yeah,
is what the phrase
cheat it
is.
out,
Yeah.
That's wild.
People kind of talk about it like it's the second coming of Grizzlebrand, who is a 8 mana 7/7 with flying that you can pay 7 life to draw 7 cards. Which
I've heard of that.
I hate the fact that it's 8 mana, but
Yeah, everybody does.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, why is it just a 7 mana? But I guess playtesting.
No one's casting it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like Grizzlebrand, arguably better, arguably worse. It's just another huge reanimator target that everyone kind of glossed over. When the set came out, it was at a pretty low price tag, and it's very quickly creeped up. So yeah, that is kind of one of the big pulls right now.
Okay, so that's Crack for Magic. All right, Crack for Yu-Gi-Oh! What do you want to see if you open a pack?
For Photon Hypernova, which is like the newest main set that came out, there's a few different cards that you'd want. They're all secret rares. There's a couple different Kashtira cards that you want. That deck is very expensive, but there's 2 secret rares for Kashtira that are both expensive. If you want to play the Kashtira deck, it's good for that too. But one of the best cards I think would be Triple Tactics Thrust, which is like a generic going second card. And if it says if your opponent activates a monster effect, you can add any spell or trap to your hand, pretty much. So it's really good for like just searching whatever card you need to just out their board or something like that. I think people are using it a lot against Kashtira as well, because they activate an effect on your standby phase.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a really good card.
And if I'm not mistaken, and you guys might be able to weigh in here, Yu-Gi-Oh! Probably of the 3 of the games is probably the least that does the tutoring stuff, which means like searching a deck for something specifically. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah,
I mean, Matt, that's definitely that's basically every deck in Pokemon. But
you do search a lot in
okay,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
all right, okay.
But like, there's only certain cards that search. Like, you kind of have to open a good hand, so it's based on your hand. But like for my Punk deck, for example, it's like a 1-card combo. So you play this 1 card, and you get to search like 3 cards, and you summon like 5 different cards.
Yeah.
And you just need 1 card to do all that, pretty much.
Yeah.
So you do actually do a decent amount of searching, but it depends on the deck. Usually.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. Okay, so go on. That's it for you?
For Crack,
That's it for Crack? Okay, let's go with Crack. What do you want to open in Pokemon? I think we know.
It hasn't really changed since last month. It's We're still in Crown Zenith, still big money, Giratina V-Star Altart, or the
Yep.
Arceus V-Star Altart.
Yep.
If they're beautiful cards, but just for the fact that you can crack one, it's like $200 in your pocket.
Easy. Yeah. Why not do it? And that's a collector's market
Exactly.
right there.
It's a collector's set.
It's a collector's set. Yeah.
Expected,
Absolutely. All right. So let's go play now. So let's go back the other way. So all right, starting with you, Tyler. What do you want to see played in your meta at the moment?
Well, at the moment, if in terms of play, you probably just want to be playing Lugia V-Star.
Yeah.
It's just it's still as powerful as ever. There's a lot of other options that can contest it. It's not like completely dominating. We went through like the last few regionals. It's anywhere from 6 out of 8 to 2 out of 8, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you can definitely get there with other decks, but Lugia is just the place to be.
But the end is inside.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm sure the word Kashtira is going to come up right now when I speak to Parker about what's going on in Yu-Gi-Oh!
2 different answers, I guess.
Okay.
If you've got a hole in your pocket and you want to spend a lot of money, then you can play Kashtira. If you don't want to, you can play Trap Tricks for $40 or whatever.
45, yeah.
Yeah, and like both are viable. Like you can beat Kashtira with Trap Tricks, so I feel like you might as well just play Trap Tricks.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like that little thing has thrown a Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta into a little bit of like a insecurity space. It's like, all right, we all knew what was good, and now all of a sudden you can do this with structure decks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it throws out the whole TCG model.
Yeah, I think half the people at locals bought the structure deck, so I think I'm going to be seeing a lot of Trap Tricks this week.
It does feel like, I mean, I don't know if you guys know what the LCG model is, which was like the living card game model, where it's like you would buy, it's basically a trading card game, but basically you were buying fixed sets, so you could put stuff together. There was games like Netrunner and Legend of the Five Rings and stuff like that after it got relaunched,
I've heard of
and you
that,
had like Call of Cthulhu, and it sounds like that's sort of the essence of what's going on right now. It's like, okay, I could just buy cards that I know I'm definitely going to get and win with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
It's wild. It's really cool. All right, on to you, Nico.
Yeah,
what do we got?
So one of the big decks right now that's kind of on the come up in modern format specifically is a red-black mid-range deck, kind of called red-black scam. People have different names for it. It's the whole idea. So there's these elementals that were released in Modern Horizons 2, which was a set that printed straight to modern. It didn't go through standard. It was cards that were meant to shake up the meta of the modern format. And you had these elementals that were all they all had the ability to evoke, and they were all like names like Fury, Solitude. There's one for each color. They do something when they enter the battlefield, and they have evoke, which means you can remove a card with the same color from your hand, like exile it, to play it for free, and then it dies. So you get the enter the battlefield effect, and then it goes away, right?
Okay, yep.
So like Solitude removes a creature, Grief takes a card from your opponent's hand, Fury deals a bunch of damage to your opponent's creatures. So what this deck is doing is that it's playing those, as well as playing cards like Feign Death and Undying Malice, which have effects where when the creatures die, they come back into play with a counter on them.
Oh,
Okay.
So
you
it's a
get
way to,
their on-play effects twice.
it's usually a way to, save your creatures during like combat or something from dying.
Right.
But instead what they're doing is that they are, casting Fury, killing up 2 of your creatures, Undying Malice, bringing it back as a bigger creature, killing your other 2 creatures, and now they have a 4/4 with double strike on like turn 3 or whatever. Yeah. As well as the fact that red-black just has a bunch of amazing cards right now in Modern. It's got, Dolphy Voidwalker, which is main deck in it. It's got Ragavan. It's got amazing mana base. It's a pretty ridiculous deck. It's not probably quite as good as the best deck in Modern right now, which is like the Murktide deck, red-blue, cast a bunch of spells, but it's seen a lot of play, and it's it's on the come up for sure. It is annoying to play against. Modern Horizons 2 is a mistake. I like it, but it's a mistake.
And so is finding it in a dump. But,
It was in there for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody was like, I don't want to put this on the world. This $200,000, you know what? The Magic players of the world don't need this.
Exactly. The moral problem with that.
Absolutely. And then I guess lastly we have build. So let's go back the other way. So let's start with Nico. Like, what are you most excited to build for yourself, and in what format?
Yeah.
Speaking of Magic.
So another Modern deck actually that is kind of on the come up again is Modern Infect. Infect is the
makes sense with Phyrexia coming out, which is a infect centric.
Exactly, yeah.
Deck.
So Infect is a mechanic where when it deals damage with poison counters. When you have 10 poison counters, you lose the game. And it deals combat to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters.
Right.
So their creatures get smaller the more you attack them, right? Modern Infect is a deck that plans on playing a small creature with Infect, pumping it up with a bunch of pump spells to kill them as early as possible. And the new printing of Venerated Raw Priest, which whenever you target something, or whenever it gets targeted, they get a counter. Your opponent gets a poison counter. So the deck kind of gets a big boost. Right now, Modern is very removal heavy. There's a lot of creature removal. Like I said, Fury is in the format. You have Solitude, Fatal Push, all these amazing removal spells that are all over the place. So Infect is kind of a hard strategy to make work. But with this new printing, it actually does get a bit of a boost. And it's a deck that you could actually see out there and could actually lose to. Harry NTG had a video where he's playing it. He had some like turn 2 wins and stuff. It is a very fast and explosive deck. It's a volatile strategy, but yeah, it's an interesting deck, and I'm glad to see Infect back in Modern.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Nice.
All right, well, what about for Yu-Gi-Oh then, Parker? What are you excited to build? Not what is Banner, but what are you excited to build?
I'm always excited for Punk. Punk has been one of my favorite archetypes since it came out.
So is that an archetype that actually has Punk in the name?
Yep.
Yep.
But it's like P.U.N.K.
Because it's Yu-Gi-Oh, yeah, of course, that makes sense.
But it's
They
really
have to put those fucking extra punctuations in there.
yeah.
Again, sorry, language.
It's like a synchro deck. And there's a lot of different ways you can build the deck too, because like you only need one card to do your Punk stuff. And there's this new archetype that just came out, and it's a TCG exclusive called Gold Pride. I talked about it last month. You can play that with Punk. You can play Pure Punk, which is really good too. I played it last week actually. And then in the next main set, we're getting Mana Domes, which is another Visa Starfrost lore archetype, and I'm going to be building those with Punk because it's very fun. We're getting some new cards in Maze of Memories. It's going to make it work, and then the new archetype is going to be very fun to play. You can do so much. I've tested it out online already, and it's very fun to play. It's like a Punk Manadome Scareclaw deck. That's what I play. It's like 3 archetypes, but they work very well together. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so that sounds really good. And all right, let's shift it over to Pokemon. What do you want to build?
Well, for Pokemon, in terms of what I want to build, it's all mostly post-rotation. So I'll go with base set Scarlet and Violet. Last time I went to a Bandit EX, I'm going to change it up this time. There's a deck called Pokemon Onkoloin EX. It's a...
the springy pig?
That's Spoink.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I might
Similar idea. But the whole idea behind this deck is he has a really... It's a stage 1, so it evolves once, and then it can attack. It has a 1 energy attack that... I believe it's 30 for every one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It's similar to Palkia V-Star, which we have at the moment, but it caps out a lot lower. But it's only 1 energy, which is a big deal. We have a lot of cards like Cheryl in the meta, or in the format rather, that you play them, it heals all of your evolved Pokemon, but it ditches all the energy attached to them. But when it only takes 1 to power back up, you have
no
this
big
pig.
deal.
There's a lot of cards you can play that make it beefier, takes less damage, and the whole idea is you're just trying to heal and stall out, and then just slowly beat your opponent to death with it.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. All right, so that's crack play build for us, right? That's everything. I think that sort of brings us to the end of the episode. Honestly, guys, it sounds like we had a really pessimistic first couple of episodes, and this one feels like it's really bright. I'm looking forward to the future of our TCGs and also complaining about them.
Of course.
Yeah. All right, so that has been it for this episode of TCG Scoops. I don't know if I said that at the beginning, but at the same time, we are recording here from EM Cards and Collectibles on Prince Edward Island. We want to thank them, of course, and their link will be in the description if you're interested in actually checking them out. And if you're in Canada, by all means, please give them your business. All right, that's it from us. Goodbye from me. Goodbye from you guys.
Bye.
Goodbye. Until next time, remember, keep shuffling.